I was at a tournament this weekend. You may have seen. I took Skaven, and I think this is probably it for now. I think I'm probably going to put the Skaven back in the cupboard. Probably pick them up again down the line. They're a lot of fun, but I think I want to do something different. I'm thinking maybe a faction that's a little bit tougher, maybe a little bit better represented. Probably stay away from skirmishes with shooting. Something really different. So, given this was the last list that I'm going to be playing with Skaven for a while, I'm going to break down what was in it, why I took some choices, what I'd change in case you're interested in playing Skaven, sort of the directions that I'd take them if I wanted to take them to more tournaments. So the core of the list is still the same. We're still looking at the Gutter Runner, sort of floating cloud, Death Star, whatever you want to call it. My biggest regret for this list is not coming up with a better snappy name. I think Gutter Cloud is okay, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue, so, something to work on. First of all, there is the Grace here that's Battle Magic level 4, Ruby Ring of Ruin, and is the Warlord. Here's the first thing I'd change. I'd probably actually put the Warlord in the main squad, make it the Demonology caster. The reason for that is, if you lose this brick anyway, you've probably lost the game. So why don't you just fully commit to the bit? So what I would do is give this character Warlord, take it away from this. Honestly, this Grace here probably can go away. It's nice output, don't get me wrong, it is good output. But just dry rolling 4 spells, even in Battle Magic, I don't love. And you could put Ruby Ring of Ruin on pretty much anyone. A more mobile character. There's a lot of things you could do differently with this. So I think maybe the second Grace here goes away, which is wild to say, but it saves a lot of points, 250 points, give or take. Then there's the other 2 characters that you'd expect to see. There's the Grace here, level 4, Demonology, Triple Obsidian Lodestone. This gives the big unit of 20 Gutter Runners Magic Resist 3. Very important to make sure that you don't get Magic Missiled off the board. And also Lore Familiar, because Demonology, you need Steed of Shadows, you need Demonic Vessel. These spells are not optional. If we just quickly take a look at what they do. Steed of Shadows, it is cast on a friendly unit, infantry, gains Fly 12. This is great for 2 reasons. First of all, you're going to be marching 24 inches. You're going to be shooting with march and shoot weapons, or move and shoot weapons that lets you march and then throw your throwing weapons. Very powerful. And then the second one is Demonic Vessel here, a self-range enchantment, so you can even cast it in combat if you somehow get tied up and you want to boost your killing power. The mount, the character, the unit, no mount, gain +1 to their strength and attacks, and also AP of their weapons. Throwing weapons are strength user, or strength self, so that gives you strength 4 throwing weapons. AP applies to all of the weapons, so you get AP 1. The extra attack doesn't come up much, but I have used it a couple of times, where just getting the combat, being able to kill something and then overrun is sometimes more valuable than getting the higher output from throwing lots of shots in. So something to weigh up. It's an edge case, but sometimes it is good to have. So with that said, there's also the Skaven Chieftain, and here's where I made one of the changes. So the Chieftain is equipped with Halberd and Heavy Armor. Honestly, this is just sort of spare points. You can go as cheap as you want on him. Battle Standard Bearer with the Shadow Magnet and the Banner of Verminous Scurrying. The first event I went to, I took the banner of Storm Demon or something, I think it's called. Storm Banner, there we go. And that turns off flying for your opponent for an entire turn and layers an extra -1 to hit. I found that I wasn't using it very effectively. I think it's probably still better, but there's a layer of... It takes a layer of complexity out of the list if you don't have to think about the perfect time to use it. I really like the Banner of Verminous Scurrying. It means you can play more aggressively with a unit. You can move forward, shoot something in the front arc, because what it does is it gives you Swift Stride as well. 35 points, Swift Stride. That's not to make your charges better, it's to make your running away better. So, a good rule to have there. This comes to, 455 odd points that you're putting into the unit with just characters. You could probably tool something up in there as well. If I'm dropping the Battle Magic caster, maybe there's something else I could do. But something that you can play around with in your list if you're interested. Into core, the core is exactly the same. 2 units of Clan Rats. These are very bare bones. Claw Leader, because it gives them an extra pip of leadership. Musician gives them +1 to rally, which is important because you don't get the rank bonus from your Horde Warbound combination when you're fleeing, so it's important to try and get those additional +1s. I didn't give them thrusting spears. If they get into combat, things have gone poorly. They didn't have shields because, again, just, if they get shot, they get shot. and they both have a rattling gun. Rattling guns are really good. For those of you who have seen them before, it's basically an organ gun that's for 18-inch range, but you can move and shoot it. You've got quick shot, you can stand and shoot. The weapon steam itself is closer order. Something that's really good to do with these is to put them at an odd angle in front of your opponent. You can use them as a charge redirector. You can also stand and shoot with them because it's a close order weapon. Just very flexible. 65 points. It's a lot of output there because you need to put something in your core. I could be tempted to go more giant rats, and honestly, some of the other Skaven players, Jack Allen has been playing with a little bunker of Night Runners to put the Greyseer in. Not the Demonology one, but a second Greyseer. I quite like that. Maybe something to play around with in the future as well. 2 units of giant 10 rats. This is something I'd change. I'd go up to 11. I'd spend an extra few points because that would make the unit 12 models by the time I put the Master Molder in. 12 is very strong. It means that you have to lose a 4th model before you take a panic check. You have to be below, at 2 models before your opponent gets the 1/4 points for having you below 25%. You're more likely to rally because, again, you're less likely to be below 25%, so you're only rallying on double ones. I think this is a nice, easy change, so I just put, for 3 more points, just bump them up a little bit, make them up to 12 models, so 10 here plus the Master Molder. Rat swarms. These things are fine. I actually have kind of gone off them a little bit. They're very good. They're swarms, so you can shoot over them. They're swarms, so they're unbreakable. They are pretty fast. They're skirmishes. They can charge in any direction. They're okay. I think because a lot of my shooting is now tied up in new units of gutter runners, I'm less excited about them because my shooting is going to be falling back anyway. But they're still pretty good. They'll probably do some good things. Honestly, they were probably a detriment at some points in the games that I played. I found that my opponents would charge them, tie me up, which is, as expected. But then if they didn't do quite enough to kill them on their turn, it could be a little bit of a problem. And that was something that I wasn't necessarily playing around with enough, but I also didn't have enough front-loaded damage to do to make it worthwhile. So something to consider if you're playing with the rat swarms. Into special, this is it, 44 gutter runners. So there's the big unit of 20, they've got throwing weapons, poison attacks, assassin. The assassin's nice to have in this unit, mostly so you can protect your unit, the chieftain and the Grey Seer from challenges more easily. Having an assassin's quite nice there if you somehow end up in combat and want to not be sad. Then there's 2 units of 12 with hand weapons, slings, poisoned attacks, assassins. So these are quite good. They deploy in an interesting little V like this. So you have 2 models at the back and then just lines. The reason for this is it takes up less footprint than the diamond pattern. And also they have a greater arc of fire. Because they can see 360, you point them like this. You make it so that you can see whatever it is that you're trying to shoot. I will put a picture up on screen so you can see what I mean. But slings don't have quick shot. You're going to be taking a movement penalty if you're shooting them. They already have, multi-shot as a penalty, probably long range because they're only 18-inch range. You do not want to be stacking too many negative modifiers on these. So something there to play around with, but I really like them. Units of 12 again, just multiples of 4 are really good. I'd love to take another unit. If I could swap out a Greyseer for a 3rd unit of gutter runners with slings on top of the other unit, I absolutely would. But you can't do that, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe something that I could do. It's hard to fit more shooting in, because a lot of the other shooting, like the Giselles, is locked behind a character I don't necessarily want to put points into. You do have to take a Warlock Engineer. So this is the list as it stands. The changes that I might be interested in making is maybe drop that Greyseer, put in... You could skew very heavy into clan rats. You could take a lot more rattling guns. That's something you could do. Maybe drop the rat swarms and go for an extra 2 or 3 units of clan rats. Yeah, something to play around with. But I like it. I think the list is good. I think it's pretty much the logical extreme of what I'd be expecting to see this list do. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I'm looking at moving away from playing this army, because I feel like I've hit the peak of what I can do with it in terms of list building. And otherwise, it's pretty much I'm at the mercy of my opponents as opposed to do I play well? Because this list has some counters. So let me give you a quick run through. This is going to be a very short tournament recap because I don't think I don't know about you. Let me know in the comments. I don't find them super interesting to hear, so I want to keep it snappy. Couple of minutes to each game. First game I played against Rob. Rob as in, yes, that Rob. Honest Wargamer. It was great. I haven't had a chance to play against him before. He was playing a very funny list, which was, I think, 4 units of Chaos Warriors, 4 casters, 2 level 2s, 2 level 4s. One was a level 4 sorcerer, and Demon Prince. Warriors of Chaos, I can't remember if I said that. All going for the Tzeentch spells, just rolling battle magic, spell familiars to get those extra spells in as well. And we rolled off. I'd looked at his list, and he had quite a tanky list, lots of T4 with a 4-up save. I was like, well, this is difficult. And he rolled his spells, and he only rolled 1 fireball. I was like, really done poorly on these spells. And I was like, no, but you've done very well, because what he did roll is he rolled 4 Pillars of Flame. I don't think he had a lore familiar in there at all. I think he literally just got 4 Pillars of Flame by rolling on 2 level 4s and 2 level 2s. So that was going to be an uphill battle. Deployment, he bunkered up in the corner. He did have a Hell Cannon, which was very funny. We both knew that was not a good unit, but he was the spare player. He was having a lot of fun with it, which was great. So he bunkered up. He had all of his level 4s around. There was the, not the puppet, the Skull of Catan, which gives all casters, including mine, if I was within 3, but within 3 inches of that model, +1 to cast. If you're bunkered inside a Tzeentch unit of unit strength 10 or above, you get +1 to cast for being Tzeentch. So even the level 2s were casting at +4, which was pretty spicy. And the game went pretty much as you'd expect. He shot magic missiles at me. They bounced, or I evasived out the way. Evasive is a fantastic rule. One of the best things about gutter runners is that you shoot them and they run away. And not really very much happened on his turn. But then it went to my turn, and he took an extra 5-minute turn where he moved Pillars of Fire through my units, and I spread out as much as humanly possible, as much as verminly possible. I spread out, but it was not enough because I just got decimated. It was a closer game than it might have been. I got a 6-14 loss, but this is not a list that can play against 4 Pillars of Fire. Unfortunately, I've built in a lot of... It's a gimmick list. I've built in a lot of and if you target me, I'll run away, or I've got magic resist, but there's no interaction point if the Pillar of Fire hits me. So unfortunately, that just kills 3 or 4 gutter runners each time, and that is something that I can't really deal with. So game 1 over. It was a loss, but I felt good about it. It was nice to play Rob. I've wanted to for a while. He runs my local club night, so I figured it would happen at some point, but he did smash me with a meme list. So that is as it is. Game 2, I played into Bretonnians. Now, this is the other hard counter, Pegasus Knights. And my opponent had a big unit of 6, and he also had 2 characters that were on Pegasus. The reason this is a problem is because Pegasus Knights can charge in any direction. They go 19 inches. If they catch me, they are going to absolutely rip through my gutter runners. They're T3 with no save. So it's a problem. And as we were deploying, my opponent went... In my last game, my last opponent said I should try a lance formation, and my heart went, "Ooh, I've got a chance." So he started the Pegasus Knights in lance formation, which was great for me because that meant that I was actually able to get around and do my things. My opponent did Prey. He was playing, the standard Green Knight, 2 Pegasus characters. I think there was a level 4 caster in there as well. Honestly, he did well to... Oh, that was it. One of them was a paladin. So there was the Duke of Hit You Very Hard, a paladin BSB, a Green Knight, and a level 4 caster as well. So he started off by deploying everything. He did Prey. I filled up my wood with some giant rats and some just clan rats because I do not want to be charged in the back. We were playing on Mountain Pass, so it's a long deployment. And I thought, okay, I've got a chance here. He started the Pegasus Knights. Hopefully he doesn't realise until halfway through the game, and I've got a chance. He prays, I go first. My gutter runners kill... He had 3 units of Knights of the Realm. I kill almost the entirety of 2 units. I think there was 2 left and 1 left. So, that's 9 Knights of the Realm, something like that, which is not the most important units to be killing, but it's a good start. I can free up some of that space, because what I don't want is for my opponent to push towards me as fast as possible, just blanket the entire board, stop me from doing anything. Kill a couple of units there. just basically spend the entire game going, my opponent's going to kill everything he can catch, which is basically everything outside of the gutter runners. And everything outside of the gutter runners, I think, died pretty much. And then I went, I'm going to not let you catch the gutter runners, and I'm going to kill everything else that I can catch. So I ended the game having with the big unit of gutter runners, a small unit of gutter runners, and maybe one unit of giant rats that were just in a one model long marching column, just snaking around trying to avoid things in the backfield. I think that was all I had left. But my opponent pretty much just had the Pegasus left, some characters, and most other things were tied up. We had some really interesting interactions with multiple fire and fleas and overlapping that took a little while to sort of puzzle through. Not in a, combative way, but just we both were like, oh, okay, this matters. Let's think this through. And this game ended in a 10-10 draw, which, given that I was playing against Bretonnians, I felt very good about. Going into game number 3, I was playing against Andy 2D6. So Andy is another Nottingham local. He's down at Club Nights. I've played him before. He has a YouTube channel. I will link it down below. He did very fairly give me a shout out. It's only reasonable to do the same. I like Andy. I have a good time playing him. He has some lovely dwarves. They are painted in a very classic style. I assume a lot of them were probably painted at the time where you would have goblin green bases, and he's continued that style out. Andy was also playing a little bit of a meme list, so he had a massive unit of hammerers with Ungrim, a massive unit of rangers that were just arranged in a line, and then what else was there? There was very little else. There was maybe a couple of war machines, 2 grudge throwers, some character support, and that was about it. It was a pretty wild list. It was just a case of, I'm going to try and kill you, or, stand and shoot you, be unbreakable, points to now, that sort of list. The problem was, and Andy said this to me, he said, I think it's an okay list, and I think I'm going to lose every game 9-11, because you've just got no way of finishing off units. Things will run away from you if you get them low, and then, And if I manage to kill one of the units, which, spoiler, I did manage to kill the hammerers, that's it. So this was a difficult list to face because it was playing the Thane, the bursting shot Thane with the accuracy, the double shot. Every hit is 2d3 hits. This absolutely ruins my list because I can't have the gutter runners anywhere near. So I had to play a really weird game of sort of edge in, get just within 24, then fall back with the Swift Stride banner if he decides to shoot me. There was a lot of sort of mind games is the wrong, but a lot of sort of like playing chicken. Do I fall back here because I can't fall back later? Which angle do I go in? Yada, yada. And this ended in a close win. I think it was a 13-7 victory to me. Basically, I managed to have 2 units of gutter runners on the side of the hammerers, just shooting in. Anytime that Andy shot me, they would fall back to just get out of range or into long range for the rangers. Then I would sort of peek out with the gutter runners, the big unit of 20, throw some throwing weapons, stand there out in the open, hope not to get, caught in some way. Andy would shoot me, I'd Swift Stride backwards, rinse and repeat. So did manage to eke out a small victory there. And that was the end of day 1. So I'd played against, I considered 3 hard counters, Pillar of Fire Spam, the Bursting Rune Thane, and also Pegasus Knights. I got a little bit lucky with some of the lists there. Obviously, the dwarf list being funnier than it is good. And I appreciate that people are trying things. And also the Pegasus Knights starting in lance formation instead of starting in just the standard skirmish. I think I got a little bit lucky there. But I was 1-1-on-1. I had played against some hard lists. I felt pretty good about it. Coming into day 2, I had Nomadic War, and I played against Nicholas. We had a great game, really lovely opponent. All my opponents were great. This was one of the standout tournaments I've done in the old world. I just enjoyed every game that I had. So played against Nicholas, and this was the first time I'd played against a list that didn't have some sort of hard counter to me. And I said, oh, do you know how my list works? He says, yes, I watched your video last night. So I'm really shooting myself in the foot, making content about the weird list that I've been playing. So maybe I need to play something a little bit more stock and standard. However, he was playing Nomadic War. He deployed, boar boys, chariots. There was the BSB that I really like, the Black Orc with the 2-up save, with the charm shield, the Trollhide trousers, the big red raggedy flag. There was a Wyvern boss. There were a single unit of Goblins in there for Pillar of Fire shenanigans. There was a level 4 caster on a boar, who I will say never lifted a finger in anger. And we deployed off, and we got to the scouts, and I looked at my opponent's deployment, and I thought, I think I'm going to try and kill that level 4 caster. Because what he'd done is he'd deployed a couple of chariots, and screaming in front of them was a line of wolf riders. And just in between the chariots was the level 4 caster. So if I could kill enough of the wolves at the front, I could clear a shot open. Or if they fled through the chariots, I could take shots at the level 4 caster as well. So I decided to do that. And I put both units of the gutter runners with the slings deployed basically just at max range, or just outside of max range for the ball boy charges, and within range to be charged by the wolf riders. But, you know, what are you going to do? I'll stand and shoot at them and kill a few and then kill them in combat. So I wasn't too worried about that. Roll off. I had the +1. I got first turn. I shot into the wolves, killed 3 or 4 of the wolves. The wolves fled through the chariots. I then lined up shots, and I managed to kill the level 4 caster. So my opponent was now without a caster on turn 1, which was really rough. Something that we did realise later on, and unfortunately couldn't go back and fix, was that my opponent did have his BSB nearby, so we could have rerolled the panic, which was unfortunate. Something that both of us missed at the time. So, turn 1, I've killed the level 4. I think I just staged the unit of 20 gutter runners. It's quite hard to get them in aggressively turn 1 against something that's as fast as the nomadic war. You don't want to get run over by big pigs. But I just then played a game of my gutter runners would fire and flee. I set things up so that they would flee through units and get further away. You know, sacrifice some cheeky giant rats, that sort of thing. And yeah, it was a really good game. I didn't kill much in turns 2 and 3. My turn 1 was incredible. I killed so much. My turn 2 and 3, I killed so little that it went from being like an absolute guaranteed win to, this is interesting. I then just played the game of, you haven't got a caster, I'm going to fly my brick around the board, kill a thing a turn, which I did every turn apart from the one turn I tried to kill the BSB chariot, and it took 1 wound because it's a 2-up save, and I just had no better targets to go for because everything else was in combat. But I flew the gutter runners around, I picked off things, I never interacted with the Wyvern Black Orc boss at all, because why would you bother? Yeah, don't need to. And just got I want to say it was a 12-8 victory, something along those lines. This was a Watchtower game. I did take the Watchtower at the end, and that was that. So good victory there, nice game. And it was nice to play in something that wasn't a hard counter. And then I went into game 5. So at this point, I was 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, which is fine. I was hoping to go 4-1 this weekend. Obviously didn't. So going into the final round, and I play against a lovely chap who I know from club nights called Rue. And I had played my Skaven list into him, and I had fairly handily beaten him, because the first time you play against the list is very difficult. He was playing a list with, ranked up Longbeards. He had the Thane, but I was playing on a different deployment to Mountain Pass, which is where I normally lose to Richie. So I was able to avoid it to some extent and just, shot him off the board, won a close game, because that's all you get with this list. You don't get big stomps. And obviously what had happened is Rude gone away and he'd looked at the list and gone, this skirmish lifestyle is pretty great. So he came to this tournament with the Flight of the Valkyries, which is a 10 gyrocopter list. It was incredible. And I did say to him, I was like, I can't help but notice that I beat you with the skirmishing list, and now you seem to be playing a skirmishing list. And he said, yes. It turns out it's incredible. It feels really good to just get out of people's charge arcs. So the rough list was the Thane, of just kill your gutter runners. You know how this works. There was an engineer sapper, which I think he was planning on dropping going forwards. There were 2 units of rangers, because this was an X-Force list, Expeditionary Force. There were 3 units of 2 scout gyrocopters. There were 3 individual regular gyrocopters. There was 1 gyro bomber, which I think he was planning on dropping later on down the line. Wasn't performing super well, but it was flavorful. It was nice to have on the list. And then, it was just like a couple of units of rangers, a couple of cannons, which were spicy, let me tell you. People don't like cannons, but they did some real work for him in this game. And we deployed. I took some fairly conservative scouts. So he put all of his gutter runners on the front line because he can vanguard, so he can do whatever he wants. Knowing that he could vanguard, I scouted over to the edges, but not far away, where that if I fled, I was going to take myself off the board. That was something I wanted to avoid. So he was running the regular gyrocopters with the steam cannons, the steam guns, I should say, sorry, which is a template weapon, strength 3. That kills gutter runners pretty quickly. Everything else had the clatter guns, I think it was, which is the advance and shoot gun. So what I wanted to do was try and not give him juicy template targets, basically. I went first, managed to kill 3 gyrocopters. The first unit. What I was planning on doing this game was bring the big gutter cloud out in front of the gyrocopters, try and stay at the edges of the threat range of the Thane, shoot some gyrocopters, then flee. There was a helpful building. Steed of Shadows means that you fly. I was going to flee over the building. Jobs are good. And I was going to kind of just rinse and repeat that, and I did. So turn 1, kill 3 gyrocopters. Turn 1, he manages to kill some bits and pieces. Half a unit of gutter runners, picks up, half a unit of clan rats. It felt like, there was a reasonable counterpunch there. Turn 2, the same. I kill 3 gyrocopters. He manages to kill a chunk of my stuff back. Turn 3, I go out. I kill some more stuff. Not as much as I wanted to. And then Rue manages to make... So he saw the line that I didn't see, and this was really well played. So he shoots me with, I think it was the Thane. I obviously flee away from the Thane. I'm now towards the board edge. And basically just kills enough stuff that I panic and run. And that was a little bit sad. But, in that retrospect, you can't flee twice in a turn, can you? Because of evasive. Maybe I did myself there. Anyway, he lined up a cannon shot because I fled back in a straight line. Lined up a cannon shot, killed 6, I fled off the board. And at that point, it was strugs. It was, oh god, how am I going to do this? And it was a really back and forth game, and it ended up being a 10-10 draw at the end. I'd have to go back and double check if I could actually flee off the board after voluntarily fleeing, but something I'd have to double check. Anyway, great game. Great opponent, really fun list to play against. If Bretonnians and the Falconhorn didn't exist, I would definitely give that list a go because it sounds really fun. Oh yeah, my first round opponent had the Falconhorn, so it was really second round, the Bretonnian player. It was really important that I got up the board early and started doing damage. It would have been interesting to see what happened if he didn't pray and just went for the roll off. That might have been an interesting counter to my list, but yes. It was fun. I really enjoyed it, but I think there's too many limitations. Pillar of Fire is too good, and it's too ubiquitous. You're just going to see it everywhere. I can't imagine that we're going to see many lists that don't have Pillar of Fire available to them over the next few months. So hopefully something changes with that. But I'm going to make a change. I'm going to be playing something different, and I've committed because I have bought, and it's just off camera, and I can't be bothered to get it and pull my green screen down. But I have ordered a lot of Dark Elves. So it's 2 dragons. It's 2 dragons because I've been a good boy and I haven't played with any dragons up until this point. I've learned how to play the game. I've now forgotten how to play the game because I've just been playing skirmish bullshit. The next step is to play more skirmish bullshit. So I haven't quite nailed down the exact of the list, which is interesting because I've bought loads of models. But it's going to be 2 dragons, a level 4 caster, lore to be decided. I really like Dark, actually. Dark and Elementalism both are calling my names, but there's some play. Both are options. There's going to be a Lord, as tanky as possible. Both will have a ward save. And then there's just a lot of repeater crossbows. So there's 2 units of Scouting Dark Riders, both 8 models. They've got Scout and they've got Fire and Flee. Then there's probably going to be another unit, or maybe 2 small units, depending on how I do points. I might put a unit of regular repeater crossbow Elves in as well. And then core is just shades, baby. Unit of 12 with the Guiding Eye, which is a magic item that lets you once per game reroll all your hits in the shooting phase. And then a smaller unit, probably an 8 and a 5, and get me above that 110 repeater crossbow shots. I think it'll be good. This is the list that I'm looking at taking to LGT. Now I just need to learn to play it, which is, as of recording, we're about 2.5 weeks away. We're less than 2.5 weeks away. We're about 2 and 2 days away. So something to learn. How different can it be to gutter runners, Surely, how different can it be? I think it's going to be really interesting. It's not anywhere near as gimmicky. I think the actual shooting that it brings isn't as good. There's more of it, but each bit of shooting that it brings is less effective. There's no poison. There's no realistic way to buff it up in AP because I've got 1,000 points of characters already, and both of them are on dragons. But it brings 2 dragons, and I'm really excited to play around with those. I think that's going to be the biggest problem for me. I think I'm going to struggle to deal with or to move dragons around because I haven't done it, and we're now at a point where people have worked out how to play against dragons to some extent, as much as you can with the standard list. And I haven't worked out how to play them just to play against them. So we'll see if I can reverse engineer that. Yeah. But here's the first dragon. I am not in love with the paint scheme. It's like a metallic-y green and then a drab green. I'm going to put some washes and stuff on it. I don't really have time to strip it and paint it again, so it might just be commit to it and paint the other one a different colour. Let me know if you've got any thoughts about Dark Elves. I have not really done a lot of research about what people have been playing. All 6 Dark Elf players, hit me up if you want to let me know what you've been doing and finding success with. Looking forward to seeing you.